Imola, where we are for the opening round of our condensed Ferrari Challenge Europe calendar for 2020. You're very welcome to join us. We're delighted that you are with us. We are here in Imola for round 2 and race 2 of our Trofeo Pirelli competitors, ahead of heading off to the rest of this somewhat condensed calendar. Share your passion, Ferrari racers. We would love you to do that. And as you can see, the Trofeo Pirelli drivers lining up on the grid, ready to contest their 30-minute race to come. It's a somewhat smaller grid than ordinarily you would expect with Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli. That because, of course, of the COVID-19. So, from Imola, we head off to Spain and Barcelona, then it's Portimao in Portugal, Mugello, Spa-Francorchamps, Misano, and then the Finale Mondiale. The World Finals will take place in the United Arab Emirates, Abu Dhabi, the Yas Marina circuit for Finale Mondiale for 2020. All the social media at the bottom of the screen of our circuit location here in Imola. And weather conditions absolutely glorious for racing this afternoon. The drivers have been out on track and experienced the track already with their qualifying session to set the grid for this race. 4.9 kilometres, 21 turns, 12 to the left-hand side, 9 to the right-hand side. The 3 sectors across this very undulating Imola circuit of 4.9 kilometres. It's a circuit steeped in history, particularly for the prancing horse, and the drivers absolutely love it. It is a fitting venue for the opening round of Ferrari Challenge for 2020. So as we take a look down the grid of cars, engineers, of course, all on track, supporting our drivers, ready to get this second race of the weekend underway. A great overhead shot of the grid then as it is formed. And, of course, the grid, a much quieter place. Ordinarily, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but ensuring that we can at least go back to racing in safety. 31 degrees is lovely and warm here. Track temperature, 48 degrees. That will challenge the new tyres from Pirelli that are put onto the 488 Challenge Evo car. Longer duration expected, and durability of the tyres is very, very strong now, allowing the drivers to push right until the end of the race. The cars will be led away, of course, by the Hublot safety car for the start and the mix of the Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli Pro drivers and AM drivers. And Beppe Scanetti, to the right-hand side of your picture there, is our safety car driver himself, a former Ferrari Challenge champion of much repute, and a jolly good driver he is as well. Somebody very good to have in our safety car. Heat haze lifting off the tarmac, as you can see, and the final engineers on the grid, just making sure everything is set with our drivers. The pole position for Trofeo Pirelli Pro goes the way of Emanuele Maria Tabacchi, who won the race yesterday, and pole position for our AM drivers with Mateusz Weibo, the Scuderia Prague driver. We're looking at the back end of the Rosso Corsa car, driven by AC, who will be going from P4 on the grid in terms of AMs, but P8 on the grid in the order overall. On board now with Michel Gatting. Michel Gatting going from P4 for Scuderia Niki Hasler Iron Lynx. And Michel Gatting finishing the race yesterday in a very, very strong P2 position. She was P3, but managed to get past the ailing Fabienne Volvend towards the end of the race. So here we are then, Imola, in anticipation of Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli to get underway.
Poi un po' di colore dopo.
Some very good images behind the scenes of everything that goes on to put this Ferrari Challenge event together. And as you can see, everyone's concern has been put at ease because everyone has worked so very hard to put this event together in as safe as possible way. And alongside me is Nico Spalek, who will translate Antonello Coletta now for us.
Finalmente siamo di nuovo in pista, siamo ad Imola per la partenza del Ferrari.
We are finally here back in Imola. This is the premiere of the new Ferrari 488 Evo Challenge here in Europe after it was presented in Mugello at the end of last year at the World Finals, which we're very happy to have. It already featured in North America, and now it is also on track here in Imola.
Challenge Evo. Un kit che ha visto già il circuito per la prima volta in occasione della prima prova del Ferrari Challenge America a Road Atlanta. Il kit venne presentato in occasione delle finali mondiali 2019 al Mugello ed ora finalmente in azione anche in Europa. Il periodo che ci ha visto forzatamente a casa ci ha consentito di riprogrammare il
same number of events,
che ci vedrà impegnati
which we look forward to, and we start here in Imola obviously, and we will have 7 events overall, all the way up to Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates
fino ad arrivare alle finali mondiali che sono sempre previste ad Abu Dhabi e sempre nella prima settimana di novembre.
Back to you, Dave.
Antonello Coletta then, the head of Attività Sportiva GT, and well done to Antonello and the whole management team at Ferrari at allowing us to come back to racing once again. And thank you to you, Nico, for your translation. Periodically during the course of our programme, we will be hearing from Nico Spalek alongside me here, who analyses absolutely everything with regards to the Ferrari Challenge races. And not only that, he's pretty good at the Italian language as well, so we're grateful for that. So we will be hearing from Nico during the course of the programme today.
Maria Tabacchi, Italia, Rosso Corsa.
Emanuele, you take the pole position for this second race Pirelli Trophy. What do you think in the moment before the start of the race?
You think so many stuff. Not to be overtaken from the back, where to break the first turn, which is the right line. So the brain is full of things.
Emanuele Maria Tabacchi then, who just 2 seasons ago had not raced in anger. What a brilliant job he has done. Took the victory yesterday, of course, and we'll be hoping that he can do the same today, and he's going to try and do so from pole position. He qualified really well. Thanks to Michele Mambelli down there on track for us in terms of getting us interview with the pole position driver. Here's the grid in full for you. Emanuele Maria Tabacchi goes from P1. Alongside is Fabian Volvend. Thomas Neubauer from P3, then it's Michel Gatting from P4. Then we see the first of our AM drivers, Mathieu Weibo from P5, Frederick Paulsen alongside P6. Then it's Oliver Grotz, P7, and AC runs from P8 on the grid, ahead of Roman Zeman, the Octane 126 driver, who goes from P9. So, as I said, a somewhat smaller grid than ordinarily we would expect with Trofeo Pirelli, but that's only to be expected following the lockdown. We are just delighted to have these 488 Challenge Evo cars roaring around the track in anger, fulfilling our need for motor racing. Away goes the Hublot safety car then. The cars just a few seconds afterwards will be released as well. There they go on their rolling lap. This formation lap as we're about to get this 30-minute Trofeo Pirelli race underway. Welcome once again, if you're just joining us, to Imola, where the second of the Trofeo Pirelli races is about to start. So the cars make their way through the Variante Tamburello, which is the first chicane, turns 2, 3 and 4. Now we're at turns 5 and 6, the Variante Villeneuve. And you can see there the Emanuele Tabacchi car, then it's Fabien Volven, then it's Thomas Neubauer and Michel Gatting in the Drivers' Championship. Emanuele Tabacchi, then following his victory yesterday, leads on 18 points. Michel Gatting P2 on 13, then it's Fabien Volven on 12, and Thomas Neubauer will be hoping to right the wrongs of yesterday and score more points than the solitary one that he did. Very undulating Imola circuit. Here are the Drivers' Championship points for the AM stars. Mathieu Weibo, 17 points. Frederick Paulsen, 15. And then 11 for Oliver Grotz. Interestingly, exactly the same P1, 2, 3 in terms of the grid for today as they stack up in the points chart. Very quick word with my analyst alongside me, Nico Spalek. You and I are delighted to be back in Italy, and as Antonello Caletta, the head of Attività Sportive GT, has said, we're all delighted to be back racing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a long time coming, and obviously we had very important matters in our societies to deal with, but it's great that we're in a situation where we can go racing with confidence. And what could be better than watching those wonderful machines on this wonderful traditional circuit?
Not much, frankly, Nico. Thank you. We will be hearing from Nico periodically during the course of the program. In the meantime, the cars now all gridding up behind the Hublot safety car, ready for the start sequence. The safety car will peel off into the pit lane. Then it will be the responsibility of Emanuele Maria Tabacchi and Fabien Volven to control the pace of the rolling lap as they head towards the green lights. So going through Rivazza 2 now, which is turn number 19. There goes the safety car peeling off into the pit lane. And now, as I mentioned, it is the responsibility of those two on the front row of the grid to control the pace. Emanuele Maria Tabacchi, Fabien Volven. It looks like a grid formation that's textbook. Cars absolutely side by side. You can sense that Michel Gatting is ready and eager to go. So too is Thomas Neubauer. We await the lights to go green. They are red at the moment. The start-finish straight that's got two kinks in it. We go green. Let's go racing. And Emanuele Maria Tabacchi then. Michel Gatting champing at the bit to try and find a way past Thomas Neubauer and Fabien Volven, and is denied. Thomas Neubauer almost getting alongside Fabien Volven, and now he does. He runs to the outside of Fabien Volven. Michel Gatting allowing him to try and carve a niche through, but Emanuele Maria Tabacchi has already escaped up the road by 3, if not 4 car lengths. Brilliant start from Emanuele Maria Tabacchi. Look at Thomas Neubauer, he'll dive to the inside now. Fabien Volven, do they touch? I don't think so. Clean and tidy. Brilliant overtake to pick up P2. Michel Gatting trying to do exactly the same here to pick up that P3 place, but has been denied thus far. The two lady racers together now, P3 and P4, Fabien Volven and Michel Gatting. Mathieu Weibo, Frederick Paulsen and Oliver Grotz, 1, 2 and 3 in the AMs. And just like yesterday, once Emanuele Maria has got his nose in front, and he didn't need to overtake anyone to put himself in that position today because he started pole, he is escaping up the road. Fabien Volven then still ahead of Michel Gatting. Thomas Neubauer ahead of the two of them. What can Thomas Neubauer now do to try and claw back some of the gap that Emanuele Maria Tabacchi has already created? Heavy braking now. The battle we're looking at is P2, 3 and 4 in terms of Trofeo Pirelli Pro. We're on board with the Iron Dame, Michel Gatting then, who drives for the Iron Lynx, and Nikki Hasler Concern, who's in P4 at the moment. She finished, bear in mind, P2 yesterday. Would like to emulate that today if she possibly could, but she's got two very fast drivers ahead of her in Fabien Volven and Thomas Neubauer. Oh, Frederick Paulsen just taking a look at Mathieu Weibo then as they made their way into that chicane, but not really close enough to be able to potentially put an overtaking move on the Scuderia Prague driver that is currently leading the AM class. Fabien Volven then in that number 5 car. Michel Gatting directly behind in the number 83 car. It's the closest for battle in terms of Trofeo Pirelli Pro at the moment, this battle for P3 and P4. Emanuele Maria Tabacchi, may I just mention, has built up a margin of 1.7 seconds already, and we're only 2.5 minutes into the race. Extraordinary pace Emanuele Maria Tabacchi has got underneath him in that Rosso Corsa prepared car. Doing a very good job indeed. Thomas Neubauer beginning to stretch his legs away from Fabian Volvend, but bear in mind, Fabian, of course, is having to defend. She's got one eye on that rear view screen, keeping an eye on Michel Gatting, who we are on board with right now. And that slows. Inevitably, that means you're not quite as quick, and that's why Thomas Neubauer has been able to escape up the road a little bit in terms of trying to get a bit closer to Emanuele Maria Tabacchi. Heavy braking now from Fabian Volvend, who seems to have shaken off the curse, from her perspective, of Michel Gatting. So the 1, 2, 3, 4 really rather spaced out. Our attention to this AM battle across the top three, which is closer than the battle in the pros currently. So it is Mathieu Svibo leading Frederik Paulsen and Oliver Grotz. They cross the timing line now. The gaps between them is coming down. So Mathieu Svibo, who was successful yesterday, taking the win, wants to make it 2 out of 2 today, as does Emanuele Maria Tabacchi, of course. Well, he's got Frederik Paulsen not quite pounding on him yet, but he's certainly not far behind. It would only take a moment's loss of concentration from Mathieu Svibo, and Paulsen would be there to take advantage of that, I feel sure. There's Emanuele Maria Tabacchi, our race leader overall. There is Thomas Neubauer, Fabian Volvend, Michel Gatting, and here comes Mathieu Svibo and Frederik Paulsen. He thinks that Oliver Grotz is just letting these two fight as much as they can, and he will be ready to pick up any pieces should they get close enough to be able to have a go at potentially trying to trade places, but just not close enough to be able to do so at the moment. 1.872 is the margin between Emanuele Maria Tabacchi and Thomas Neubauer. The gap, somewhat less than that, between Mathieu Svibo, Frederik Paulsen and Oliver Grotz. So run downhill now, under the bridge, just through the kink, which is turn number 16, then another kink, which is this one, turn number 17, before you have to stand on the brake pedals here to turn into turn number 18, which is Ravazza 1, and here comes Ravazza 2, as we can see from being on board with Mathieu Svibo. Runs the curbs, make sure he doesn't dip a wheel into the gravel, that would cost him valuable tenths. And onto the start finish straight with another lap in the book for the Scuderia Prague driver, leading the race in terms of Trofeo Pirelli AM. Leading the race in terms of Trofeo Pirelli Pro is Emanuele Maria Tabacchi, who, once again, as he put another lap in the book, has extended his margin still further over Thomas Neubauer. It's up to 2.2 seconds. And here is that overall race leader, Emanuele Maria Tabacchi, the Rosso Corsa racer. Now, I mentioned earlier on in the program, up until 2 seasons ago, he had not raced a car. He had taken part in Club Challenge when he would been up against the clock in Ferrari 488, but that wasn't competitive racing. And that's all the racing that he had done before he made his debut in the Ferrari 488 Challenge last year. And he took the honours of the Trofeo Pirelli AM title and was elevated for this season to Trofeo Pirelli Pro, where thus far, Nico Spalek alongside me, he's not really put a foot wrong, has he?
No, definitely not. He was beaten in qualifying yesterday, if you want to find some sort of blemish on his record. But he made good on that within a few hundred meters and took the lead and never looked back, really, with Fabienne and Michel battling behind him. That allowed him to get up the road, but he's basically doing the same thing again today with fast lap after fast lap. And for the moment, it leaves Thomas Neubauer with no other option than trying to stay somewhat within striking distance and hoping that either a mistake or some difference in tire degradation will allow him to catch up again. But it's not a good bet at this moment.
I would agree with you there. I see a mirror image almost in Emanuele Maria Tabacchi, another former Ferrari Challenge racer called Chris Froggatt. They look nothing like each other. Chris Froggatt is something like 9 foot tall. He was another one that came into the Ferrari Challenge with no racing experience and now has gone into other forms of GT racing as a very successful driver. So It's such a good place to be in terms of your racing career. The prancing horse one-make series that is the Ferrari Challenge. Some gorgeous images there of the Oliver Grotz car. And here is Emanuele Maria Tabacchi then. And as Nico says, if he wants to blot his copybook in any way, it is that qualifying yesterday, he didn't get pole position, but I think it was within 400 metres of tarmac, he was in the lead of the race. So that didn't hamper him, it would appear. 3.134 seconds to the good now over Thomas Neubauer, who's probably going to need a little bit more than tyre deck to allow Thomas Neubauer to get a little bit closer to him. But at the moment, Emanuele Maria Tabacchi is driving like an absolute star here, nailing every corner, just giving it as much aggression as he needs to without putting himself at too much risk. And Rosso Corsa really have engineered the perfect car. Look at the brake discs light up as he throws that car into Ravazza 1 and then into Ravazza 2. All the data is being analysed for every single centimetre of tarmac that these cars are over as the engineers look at everything. And for my money, I think Fabian Volbeck is a little bit closer to Thomas Neubauer now. They've both broken away significantly from Michel Gasly. You can just see rounding that turn now. And Matthew Svaibo has put himself into a fairly comfortable position over Frederick Paulsen also. So the top four in each really are a little bit spread out here. And we're about 21 minutes of the race remaining. Dropping the car over the curbs there. He's certainly not as, you perhaps might have thought. Often asked this question of racing drivers, what is a comfortable margin to have between you and the car that's chasing you? And everyone has told me exactly the same. There is no comfortable margin. The more you can have, the better it is. Emanuele Maria Tabacchi is certainly not letting off yet. Now, Frederick Paulsen is taking the charge a little bit here to Mathieu Svaibo. And Oliver Grotz, as I said, is just standing by, waiting to pick up the pieces if these two should trade blows in their quest to that P1 place in terms of the AM drivers. So just 2.5 tenths between the two of them. There is Frederick Paulsen then, who's doing the chasing. Frederick Paulsen, who was on the podium yesterday in the AM class for his second place, P2, engineered by Formula Racing. This car, the number 56 car, is run by the Scuderia Prague outfit, which have been a really very, very successful team. My history with the Ferrari Challenge, which goes back more years than I care to remember now. I'm delighted to be here, of course. And Ivan Horn is the team principal of Scuderia Prague. It's a good job, it's a tight ship, and good fun is had every race weekend as well, and that fun is escalated still further when they have the success that they are having. Mathieu Svaibo, Miroslav, also races, and he races in the Copa Shell class. He has such as good a time of it as his son did yesterday. I spoke to both of them during one of our open mic programs that we ran during the course of the lockdown, and very interesting it was to talk to the both of them. Hugely committed. And there is Ivan Horn for Scuderia Prague, the one that's closest to you in the garages there, looking at all the data being sent back from the Mathieu Svaibo car. Paulsen, of course, is in this position where he's trying to attack the car in front, but also ever conscious of the fact, there's a small mistake there from Matthews. That will have cost him a couple of 100ths. I was saying, Frederick Paulsen, being stuck right in the middle here, is trying to attack Mathieu Svaibo ahead, but he's also ever minded of the fact that Oliver Grotz is not far behind and doesn't want to leave himself open for an attack to come from the P3 driver in that class. In the meantime, almost with time to have a cappuccino as he passes the pit lane, when he next gets there, is Emanuele Maria Tabacchi, because his margin now is some 5 seconds over this driver that we were about to see, Thomas Neubauer. You couldn't even see him in the same shot. Such is the lead that this man has. So Emanuele Maria Tabacchi then found the first kink in this start-finish line, and then the second. She tries to straight line as much as possible. Altogether closer is the battle for P1, 2 and 3 in the AMS. here with Frederick Paulsen in the blue car, Mathieu Svaibo in the white and blue, and then the green and white belongs to Oliver Grotz. Cars sound glorious as they pass our commentary position here in Imola. Here is Thomas Neubauer trying desperately to get on terms with Emanuele Maria Tabacchi, but every single lap he does, he puts more tenths onto the margin between himself and this man chasing him. Fabian Vollwend, of course, in P3 at the moment, also trying to get on terms with Thomas Neubauer, and Michel Gatting has been left a further 3 seconds behind. Fabian Vollwend, you may recall, if you've been a follower of the Ferrari Challenge, was the first lady to win a Ferrari Challenge race outright a couple of seasons ago, and that victory came here at Imola. Absolutely loves her Ferrari Challenge racing. Team responsible for Fabian Vollwend is Octane 126. Swiss-based team which do a very good job indeed and have reached significant success since their debut in the Ferrari Challenge a few seasons ago. Just see Thomas Neubauer there, and this is Fabian then continuing to chase down Thomas Neubauer, and interesting to see as they cross the timing line. I think Fabian is getting a little bit closer to Thomas Neubauer, and neither of them are certainly troubling Emanuele Maria Tabacchi. As Mathieu Svaibo, you could actually almost feel the rumble strips as he maintains his P1 position over Frederick Paulsen. There's only about 5 or 6 tenths between the two of them. Across the timing line now. And, oh, that has been an off for Thomas Neubauer. I think that will allow Fabian Vollwend to get just a few centimetres closer. Thomas Neubauer probably just dipped the back end of the car into the Variante Tamburello exit. Let's have a look. He did more than that. He completely shortcutted it. How on earth did he manage to maintain that speed and momentum through there? Good save from Thomas Neubauer. He's certainly not gained anything from that. The race stewards won't look at that and consider a penalty because he's gained nothing. This is Michel Gatting in the number 83 car for Iron Lynx, and Nikki Hasler running in that P4 position. Just doesn't seem to have the pace to be able to take it to the top 3 at the moment. She's dropped back another couple of seconds from Fabian Vollwend. These two had such a good battle yesterday, and unfortunately they're not close enough to be able to do so today. Michel Gatting really rather out on her own. Of course, hugely successful kart racer, went into single-seaters and also some tin-top racing, but has really found her home in these 488 cars. Has raced in the 488 GT3, and now delighted to welcome her into the 488 Challenge paddock as well. So Michel Gatting from Denmark leaves braking to the very last minute. Ravazza 1 and here through Ravazza 2. Oh, and somebody else has dipped a wheel, and that must have been Thomas Neubauer, because Fabian Vollwend has got the inside line here. This could be a change for P2. So Fabian Vollwend and Thomas Neubauer absolutely side by side, but Fabian's going to have the whip hand here as she goes through to pick up that P2. Thomas Neubauer over the last couple of corners was just looking a little bit ragged, and Fabian was able to take advantage of that. So just saw the dust from that Variante Tamburello. And we actually saw him go through there, but then another mistake on the Ravazza turn number 19, and we saw the dust cloud, if you like, and that was just enough to allow Fabian Vollwend to get right alongside him. And here we can see it in replay. Oh, just lost that, and that was enough, you see, for Fabian Vollwend to get to the inside for the next sequence of turns. That would be turns 1, 2, 3 and 4, and now she's been released from Thomas Neubauer. Look at that, opened up a 5-car gap already. It was always going to take a mistake from Neubauer, probably, and that mistake came. We've got just under 13 minutes left. Up the road by 8.5 seconds is Emanuele Maria Tabacchi Fabian Volvend to Emanuele Maria Tabacchi, 8.1 seconds now as Fabian is really lighting that car up. But, Nico, alongside me, you've been analysing the data. It's going to take probably a small error from Emanuele Maria Tabacchi to allow Fabian to try and take this to Emanuele over the next 12.5 minutes, isn't it?
You would think so. Obviously, a very small mistake can have grave consequences on a very fast track like Imola. But yes, I mean, Emanuele must make a significant mistake that costs massive time, or obviously, which we don't hope, suffers some mechanical failure. It's a little bit of a duplicate of yesterday, where Fabienne was behind Michelle Gatting for a long time and then overtook her with a little bit less time, but also with a significant margin to Tabacchi. And she will primarily hope, I guess, that misfortune doesn't befall her again just before the finish line, which happened yesterday and cost her the P2 position that she worked so hard to get for a long time.
Great analysis as always, and yes, you're absolutely right to make that comparison with yesterday. So 8.6, 8.5 now between Tabacchi and Fabian Volvend. So it is Octane 126 versus Rosso Corsa in terms of honours. Here's some great shots of the Michelle Gatting car. Beautiful livery across that number 83 machine. The team, Iron Lynx and Nikki Hasler, run by Deborah Mayer, herself a former Ferrari Challenge driver. Yeah. So you look at Emanuele Maria Tabacchi there. I think he's got his hand out the window, isn't he? Just trying to get some air into the car. It is warm here in Imola. You can understand him doing that. 8.67. So I just think he's playing with this gap, and I think he's completely under control. He was responsible for the fastest lap. A 1 minute 44.024, so he's got 10.5 minutes to hold on to this lead and to continue pushing brilliant laps like this. And, talking to a couple of the drivers last night after the racing, and they all agreed with the fact that Pirelli have really developed a tyre that offers even more durability for the 488 Challenge Evo car. Mathieu Sveibo has opened up that gap between himself and Frederick Paulsen by a couple of seconds, which means now that Paulsen is really under pressure from Oliver Grotz here. Oliver Grotz, who's running in P3 and has been running in P3 for lap after lap after lap. You can see now is champing at the bit to try and find a way past Frederick Paulsen. I would say there's no question about it. Grotz is quicker than Paulsen, but he's got to find a way by, and that's not so easy on this really rather tricky Imola circuit. Be hoping perhaps that if he maintains the pressure that Paulsen will make a small error, but they don't come very often from Frederick, it must be said. Best overtake possibility probably is what he needs to do is make sure he exits the Ravazzi turns, turn 18 and 19, a little bit smoother perhaps and quicker perhaps than Frederick Paulsen, and then Oliver Grotz might have an opportunity on the drag race along the start-finish straight, try and put himself on the inside line for the Variante Tamburello, turns 2, 3 and 4. Well, he's certainly close enough to him. He needs to be clean, tidy, and not sure that's as clean and tidy as he would like it to be in replay. Well, it's along the start-finish straight where we need to find them, and I don't think he's close enough to be able to do so. He just takes a sneaky look at the inside, but he was never close enough. Never close enough. This fight is going on. Oh, now he's virtually welded to the back of Paulsen's car. We have seen overtakes here, but he wasn't in the best position to be able to do that. Just keeping an eye on the times here as well, because Nico, you've identified that Michelle Gatting is getting a bit closer to Thomas Neubauer, isn't she?
Yeah, Thomas Neubauer seemed to drop off his original pace just a little bit. That allowed Fabienne to get closer, and now Michelle is doing the same thing. She gained 2.2 seconds over the last 2 laps, so that's one thing where with 1.3 seconds remaining and 7 minutes and a half remaining on the clock, that could still be up for grabs. So the final podium position is something that this man, Thomas Neubauer, must hold on to and defend from a charging Michelle Gatting in that black and purple car of Iron Links.
Thanks, Nico. That's why I'm glad you're alongside me, always looking at some of the other battles that are going on whilst we focus and concentrate on the images and pictures that we have in front of us. There are other battles continuing, and Thomas Neubauer, who was denied a finish yesterday, let alone a podium, will desperately want to take the podium today, but Michelle Gatting will, of course, be desperate to make it 2 out of 2. So this is Mathieu Weibo, and barring any disaster, I would think Weibo is in a fairly strong position here. Top speed, 273 kilometers per hour through the speed trap. Spacchi is now 9.275 seconds up the road and has responded to the pace of Fabian Volvend. The gap evolution between Weibo and Paulsen has been something of a seesaw, as you can see. Because, of course, Paulsen has had to spend his time defending against Oliver Grotz, who's, I think he's probably going to come back for another attempt, but within the remaining 6 minutes and 20 seconds. I don't think he's finished with this yet, and we will see. This then, the great image and replay of the Mathieu Weibo car. You can see the front splitter almost making contact with the tarmac under braking and then driving uphill here. All the traction in these wonderful 488 Challenge Evo cars to propel them up the hill. So now the gap is palpably smaller, isn't it, between Thomas Neubauer and Michelle Gatting. Now, one thing that I can assure you of Thomas Neubauer is that he does seem to suffer under pressure. Seems to break his concentration. Michelle Gatting will be pushing and pushing really hard here. We've seen Thomas Neubauer make a couple of mistakes. She just wants one more, and then she will be on for a second podium this weekend. So we're on board with the Iron Dame driver, Michelle Gatting, pushing and pushing and pushing. I don't think she's necessarily close enough to be able to have a go into the Variante Tamburello. So taking a look at the inside, but as I say, just not close enough, because straight line speed for Thomas Neubauer appears pretty good. It's through the chicanes and where else, where perhaps Michelle Gatting is just a little neater, a little tidier than Thomas Neubauer, and that's where he loses time, and therefore the gap between himself and Michelle Gatting decreases. So this is going to be one to watch right until the very end of this race. We've got just under 5 minutes of the race remaining. Neubauer under increasing pressure. You can bet your bottom dollar. You can see there just how much tidier Michelle Gatting is on the exit of that turn. That's where she's able to gain momentum on Thomas Neubauer and bring that gap down. You can bet your bottom dollar that they are on the radio to Michelle saying, push, push, push. And that's precisely what she is doing. Here comes a live gap for you, 4 tenths. 4 tenths between Thomas Neubauer and Michelle Gatting. So we stay on board with Michelle now in her pursuit of the Charles Pozzi Courage driver ahead. Throws it through the curbs of that Variante Alta chicane. Heading down towards the bridge now, turn number 16. Then there's another little kink, which is turn number 17, before massive braking. I reckon we've got 3 more laps remaining. So, Michelle Gatting, what can you do here? I've seen you race for many, many years. And I know you do not give up until the checkered flag has flown. Not, of course, that she is listening to me at the moment, but Thomas Neubauer, just for the moment, on these straight line speed, I think he's got it. Emanuele Maria Tabacchi, 9.2 seconds to the good over Fabian Volvend, barring disaster for Emanuele Maria Tabacchi. Surely he will be able to make it 2 out of 2 this weekend. You can see where Emanuele Maria Tabacchi is on the track with our map to the right-hand side of your screen. And Emanuele Maria Tabacchi has not put a foot wrong for the entire race. Neubauer to Gatting now. Thomas Neubauer has clawed a little bit back. This is Mathieu Svaibo leading in the AM class. And he's got a very comfortable margin of very nearly 4 seconds between himself and Frederik Paulsen. And Frederik Paulsen himself has opened up 3 seconds worth of gap over the chasing Oliver Grotz. So rather feel that the closest battle we've got on track is for that P3 place in terms of Trofeo Pirelli Pro. And that is between Thomas Neubauer and Michel Gatting. So confirmation of the standings in Trofeo Pirelli AM on the screen. And there is the Trofeo Pirelli AM leader. So let's go back to this battle then in replay. Look how much curb Michel Gatting took on the entry to that chicane. Just trying to get a bit closer to the car of Neubauer. Just looking whether Michel is, I don't think she's closer this time going into this chicane. So is Michel Gatting going to have to settle for a non-podium finish? It'll be terribly alien to her and she won't be happy about that, but Neubauer definitely has lost a bit of pace towards the end of this race. Right, here comes Michel now. She knows it's now or never. But it's all very well being as quick, or indeed quicker than the car in front of you. You've got to find a way by. Thomas Neubauer, the back end of the car, just steps out a little bit. He controls it well, but that allows Michel Gatting to get a little bit closer. So where can Michel try and make a move? Perhaps at the Variante Alta, maybe. She goes almost alongside Thomas Neubauer now. Is she lining him up? So the climb uphill now. Stand by. I think Variante Alta is where Michel will try and have a go at Thomas Neubauer. I could be wrong. I have been on many occasions before. And sure enough, I am wrong, because she doesn't have a go there. Not quite close enough. Needed to be alongside Thomas Neubauer to make it work and to make it stick as an overtake there. So running downhill now. It's going to be one more lap, isn't there? And that's going to be the only opportunity as we start the final lap now, because Emanuele Maria Tabacchi will have crossed the timing line. Oh, and that's a mistake from Neubauer, just when he needs not to make it. Can Michel Gatting take advantage of that and get closer, but not close enough? See, Neubauer has got the straight line speed, and Michel Gatting not able to take advantage of that. That might be one of her better opportunities gone. However, there are still a number of turns to be done. It ain't all over till the checkered flag flies. Michel Gatting is flying in terms of trying to get past Neubauer here. Neubauer is looking ragged. Michel Gatting isn't. So up the hill, she needs to press and push for another mistake from Thomas Neubauer, but needs to be really close to be able to take advantage of the braking concentration and the mistake that potentially could come. And I don't think she's quite close enough. Under braking gets ever closer still. Climbing uphill now. Brilliant onboard shot. And there you can see Michel looking for a way past. In the meantime, we have got to go back to this man, Emanuele Maria Tabacchi. It's been a masterclass in 488 Challenge Evo driving from Emanuele Maria Tabacchi then, who is going to make it 2 out of 2 this weekend. Well done, sir. Fabian Volvend is some 10 seconds behind, maybe 11. Before she can take P2. Then, who is it going to be that's going to take P3? It's going to be Thomas Neubauer. A strong effort from Michel Gatting to try and get by, but she was not able to do so. Here comes Mathieu Svaibo for the AM classification to take P1. Here's Frederik Paulsen for P2. And it should be Oliver Grotz to take P3. Indeed it is. Nico Spalek alongside me. You could see how excited I was getting because Michelle Gatting was trying very hard, but she was just denied in the end.
Yeah, it just goes to prove, as you've said so many times, you need to get on terms with someone, but then getting past that someone is an entirely different cup of tea. Thomas Neubauer didn't make the mistake, didn't afford the opportunity, with maybe one or two small exceptions, but that was just when Michelle wasn't quite close enough to make it happen. And yeah, so good for Thomas after the disastrous race yesterday, which he didn't finish. Good for him to have a podium. That's a confidence boost. Fabienne Wolvent, of course, after having the technical failure right towards the end, which cost her a place, will be happy to hold on to P2. But I think it's fair to say on this event, on this circuit, which potentially Emanuele Tabacchi has more experience than some of the other drivers, being an Italian, he has been just unbeatable in the pros.
You're right. He has been excellent. I think that Fabian and Thomas will be relieved almost. They're in podium positions. Mathieu Weibo, the winner in terms of the AMS, he's had a very strong weekend as well. I remember talking to him in our open mic program over the lockdown period, and it's good to talk to Mathieu and also his father Miroslav. As Emanuele Maria Tabacchi brings the car into the pit lane, the Rosso Corsa racer having delivered another stunning result. 2 out of 2, maximum points in terms of racing for Emanuele Maria Tabacchi. And, well, you wouldn't bet against him in Abu Dhabi becoming the Trofeo Pirelli Pro champion. That would be extraordinary. Extraordinary. For a man that only started racing a couple of seasons ago, a brilliant drive indeed. That's Nicolo Schiro there offering congratulations to Emanuele Maria Tabacchi. It's nice to see. I think it is. It's difficult to tell with the masks, isn't it? Here in replay then was the checkered flag unfurled for Emanuele Maria Tabacchi. Taking the win for the AM classification. Mathieu Weibo for Scuderia Prague. So Scuderia Prague and Rosso Corsa, the winning teams, their drivers respectively, taking that checkered flag. Good job all round. Well done. So Rosso Corsa very happy on the pit wall, and there is Emanuele Maria Tabacchi being congratulated. Really, really nice guy as well. Love talking to him. Right, confirmation of the top 3 in each category then. Emanuele Maria Tabacchi, P1. Fabian Wolvent, P2. Thomas Neubauer, P3 in terms of Trofeo Pirelli. Trofeo Pirelli AM, Mathieu Weibo, Frederick Paulsen, and Oliver Grotz. Social media at the bottom of the screen there, or the bottom of the graphics. And after 18 laps, and again, didn't really matter about the number of cars on track because there was plenty of action and plenty going on towards the end, particularly. And there is Fabienne, who takes that P2 place. Emanuele Maria Tabacchi, well done, sir. Winner again.
Pole position, fastest lap, and the victory. What do you want more?
Nothing more. Now I go to my daughters, I stay with them, and I'm so happy about the whole weekend.
Not much more you could get, Emanuele, is the point for fastest lap, the point for pole position, and the points, of course, for the race win. Right, let's recap on some of the highlights of that Trofeo Pirelli race. And as the cars were released from the lights, no question, Emanuele Maria Tabacchi was up the road, and Thomas Neubauer looking very lively right at the start of the race too. So was Frederick Paulsen trying to pursue Mathieu Weibo. Emanuele Maria Tabacchi, well, he wanted an early bath, it would appear, because his lead over everyone else in the race was very large indeed. Thomas Neubauer, well, made a mistake there, but managed to hold on to his position. But in the end, One more mistake would be enough for Fabian Volven to get past and pick up that P2 place from Thomas Neubauer, who, despite the charges from this driver, Michel Gatting, towards the end of the race, Thomas Neubauer was able to hold on to P3, but there was no mistaking our race winner. 2 out of 2 this weekend for Emanuele Maria Tabacchi and also for Mathieu Weibo. There we have it then. All is quiet. So, in terms of confirmed classification now for Trofeo Pirelli Pro, Emanuele Maria Tabacchi ahead of Fabian Volven, Thomas Neubauer and Michel Gatting. Michel just missing out on a podium. She'll try and put that right in Barcelona, a track where she has got significant experience, no question about that. And they're the cars in the Parc Fermé area. The drivers heading up to the socially distant podium. And we'll be seeing 2 podiums this afternoon, one for the pro drivers and one, of course, for the AM drivers in Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli. And that's where we're heading. It's all quiet because we cannot hear Michele Mambelli bringing the drivers out onto the podium yet. But he will be doing that. Confirmation in terms of the AM classification. It was Mathieu Weibo, Frederick Paulsen, Oliver Grotz ahead of AC, and then it was Zeman who took the P5 in terms of the AM classification. Roman Zeman from Octane 126. Drivers' Championship points. Look at this. Emanuele Maria Tabacchi goes away from here. 10 points to the good over Fabian Volven and Michel Gatting 21 points. Thomas Neubauer on 11 points. In terms of Trofeo Pirelli Pro drivers and the Pro Championship points with Barcelona, Portimao, Mugello, Spa, Misano and Abu Dhabi still to come. We can hear Michele Mambelli now, so I'm guessing the podium is not very many moments away. Sure enough, we can hear Thomas Neubauer being brought out onto the podium. It'll be Fabian Volven next, and then Emanuele Maria Tabacchi that will take the top step of the podium. There is Thomas. The golden locks of the Octane 126 Liechtenstein driver, Fabian Volven. Thomas, you're in the wrong step, friend. And Emanuele Maria Tabacchi. Always great fun on the podium. And the national anthem will play out for Emanuele Maria Tabacchi. So the first, second and third Pirelli baseball caps go on. The trophies will be held aloft for the obligatory photographs. And well done to Emanuele Maria Tabacchi, to Fabian Volven and to Thomas Neubauer. So then, super slow-mos of the top 3. P3, Thomas Neubauer for Charles Popsy Courage. P2 for the Octane 126 driver Fabian Volven. And P1 again for the Rosso Corsa racer Emanuele Maria Tabacchi. So super slow-mos of the top 3 cars in terms of Trofeo Pirelli drivers. Next we'll be seeing the AM podium, and on that podium it will be Mathieu Weibo, Frederick Paulsen and Oliver Grotz. So 2 Formula Racing drivers, and Mathieu Weibo, the Scuderia Prague driver, taking the top step of the podium. Do share your passion for Ferrari races. We would love you to do that and to get involved. A lovely backdrop it is here in Imola, where the weather conditions have been absolutely glorious, truthfully. We've had a great time of it in terms of the weather. So their confirmation then of the classification in terms of the AM drivers. Mathieu Weibo, Frederick Paulsen ahead of Oliver Grotz, AC, and Roman Zeeman. Just 40.4 seconds, splitting the top 5 in that particular classification. So I can almost see out of the window here that once again the podium is prepared. One Mr. Stefano Guy, I think. Again, it's a job to tell with the masks, isn't it? So here comes Oliver Grotz, Frederick Paulsen next. So the two Formula Racing drivers. And Mathieu Weibo then for Scuderia Prague to the top step of the podium, and we stand by for the national anthem for our race winner. The P1, P2, P3 baseball caps go back on. The trophies are held aloft for the obligatory photographs, and our podium for our Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers is complete. Well done, Mathius. Here comes super slow-mos of the top 3. Mathieu Weibo, race winner for Scuderia Prague. P1. P2 for Formula Racing goes the way of car number 98, and that is the car of Frederick Paulsen, which we'll get to in a moment. As you can see, the points line up: 33 points for Mathieu Weibo, Frederick Paulsen on 27, Oliver Grotz on 21, with AC on 17, Roman Zeeman on 13, and David Gersner on 1 point. Next points paying opportunities will come at Barcelona for our Trofeo Pirelli drivers. 18th and 19th of July, just a couple of weeks away. We'll be heading over to Spain and the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona.